Carnival Hunt, a horror first-person asymmetric social multiplayer game. Each side is struggling to survive. Not only do the bunnies need a charge to live, but also the monster. Every playthrough is different, so this game will be somewhat like Dead by Daylight with a spin. It definitely looks to change things up with bunnies instead of humans, and other than that, not much to say until the details come out. We obviously want to see more gameplay. Greyhill Incident. In the United States during the early 90s, residents of a small neighborhood realized the government is lying about aliens, and once it was clear they were right, there'd already be an invasion in their neighborhood. This will be a horror story driven single player game where with different weapons, notably a revolver, you will fight the alien invasion. We finally seem to get a proper alien invasion game, and being made by an indie studio, it may just be a true gem.
Ryan, this is an absolute invasion. Do you know what that means? He'll abduct everyone in the village. Humans, animals, and every little insect. They'll take samples of everything.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, an asymmetrical third-person horror game where you either choose to be one of the notorious slaughterers or their victims. As a victim, you must use your wits and stealth to stay out of the family's reach and find the tools you need to lead you to an eventual freedom. The slaughterer must track down and stop their victims from escaping. So in simple terms, this will be somewhat like Friday the 13th. So if you like that game, this one promises to get your attention.
It's your own fault.
Silent Hill 2 Remake, a third-person horror title, a classic remake from 2001, and it'll return with next-gen graphics and different changes throughout the game. We don't have any details about the installment, but we can say that for horror fans, this is the biggest release of the decade.
Could she really be here, waiting for me? Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago.
In my restless dreams, I see that town.
Alone in the Dark, psychological horror meets Southern Gothic in this reimagination of the classic survival horror game. This love letter to the groundbreaking original lets you experience a haunting story of one of two protagonists. Play as either Edward Carbney, I'm not sure if I said that right, or Emily Hartwood.
Isn't cursed or blessed. It's a battleground.
Maybe the Dark Man just likes it when you suffer.
Have you ever talked to a doctor about your condition?
This is madness!
Are you crazy? Fall on your knees, wear the mask, praise his name!
Wrong does. A cinematic story-driven game set in a small town. The player will explore a detailed and abandoned town while confronting psychological horrors, solving puzzles, and fighting enemies along the way. Players will be free to explore different parts of town, interacting with various NPCs along the way. There's really something to the atmosphere this game has.
You're too late. They're all gone.
You won't make it. Peggy 18.
Alan Wake 2, a third-person survival horror game with intense atmosphere and a twisted, layered psychological story. If you're a fan of mystery, whether TV shows or movies, then look no further. This one is one of the most captivating games to play, once it releases, of course.
This is not the story you want it to be. This story will eat you alive. This story is a monster. And monsters wear many faces.
The Outlast trials, kidnapped during the Cold War, were used for experiments inside of a lab. This game will consist of different trials that include different maps and enemies. We must leave, but we will have to go through different challenges to escape. For one, the maniacs are looking for us and we have to stay away from them. Then through different small missions we will make our way to the exit, kinda like the Jigsaw movies. The only relief is that you can play with up to 4 friends in this insane world.
Hello? Hello?
Paranormal Tales, a traditional first-person next-gen horror game based on found footage. You experience and play through different tragic tales of people who went missing. This will definitely be the most scary game of the year if it delivers. The immersion and realism is like no other. You really do feel like you're there. Slitterhead, taking place in the 90s of a Chinese city inspired by Hong Kong. Regular everyday people turn into gruesome creatures that will have to fight. And the creators have also mentioned that gore is a big focus on this game, so you can only imagine how brutal this will be. Narin the Orange Room, a third-person survival horror game. Play as Narin, a 7th grade primary school kid whose sister unexpectedly disappeared and ended herself in a mysterious world during the twilight hours. I know this isn't the most visually appealing game, but games like this usually end up being gems. Hellblade 2, an insanely graphically impressive third-person action adventure horror game. The sequel to the title with the best sound design. This is said to be one of the most captivating horror experiences ever. If the first game is anything to use as judgment, this will perhaps be Game of the Year. We are still unaware of the story and other details, but this game was announced a couple of years ago. One of those releases that you know won't disappoint.
To risk your own life for what you believe is your sacrifice to make. To lead others to death brings a different kind of burden. One that Senua would have